summary. So that is how it goes. This is kind of a complex problem, really, because when you increase length of the input text, generating or combining all that information into a single vector representation is kind of difficult. And if you do that, again, mapping that single representation into a bunch of lines is another difficulty. So there are some advanced techniques where you try to first extract where is the important information, whether it is contained in the initial part of document or towards the end of document or in the middle of document, and so on. Then we use separate encoders to encode this information, and then we use something known as attention mechanism to attend to only the important information and forget the other information, and so on. Generate multiple representations and then finally write the summary of it. So you can search about it and you would come to know. Then if we go to question answering, the complexity increases further. Again, this is a very different ballgame. So we have a question as the input and then some document, some information where the answer might lie. We have to develop such a system that first it understands what we have asked. It also understands the content which is presented to it, where the answer lies. And then it has to combine these both things, make some sense out of him, then locate what is being asked in this text, go there, retrieve the answer, present it in the way that we want at the output side. So this is something really complex, and this involves natural language understanding, natural language generation, and also the information extraction. So when we put all this together, we get a good question answering system, and these systems are usually employed in the chatbots. Again, there are various research directions there. This is something that we recently worked on, that generating a polite response. So this was the problem that industries have recently faced. So there you might be using chatbots on different sites, right? Google Assistant, Siri, or if you go to even IRCTC and so on, everyone has a chatbot. What the industry people say is that they are receiving complaints from the people that the chatbot is rude. And this is something the industry would think about having it. I mean, this would be the last thought or last wish that they want their chatbot to be rude, right? So we have worked on changing or converting the responses come out of the question answering system into polite ones. So if you are interested, you can just ping me. I can give you the details of this work. And so we work for different Indian languages. Yeah, so actually one thing is I'm showing you English examples today because I mean, it needs some understanding of the Indian languages to appreciate the difficulty in processing them. So just for simplicity, I'm including all English examples here, but we work on different Indian languages for all these tasks. So here is an example. The question is, the chatbot is asking, what trouble are you having? Or we are asking, or someone, like say someone is asking, then the history is like, my phone was perfectly working a minute back and then stopped working suddenly. Okay. Now a chatbot says, we will look into this with you. Please tell us what trouble are you having, right? So if you see the tone of the response, it is polite. So this is what we have recently worked on. Then let's talk about machine translation. So machine translation, as you know, what it could be that so on the input side, you are going to provide some text in, say, English language, and you want its translation in the language of your choice, that is target language, let's say English or Hindi or Marathi. So again, this is like encoder decoder model. What I'm showing you here is a transformer architecture that contains something called as attention. So two types of attentions are here, self attention and cross attention. So self attention is used again, as I said, to understand what the input is. Okay, so it gives importance to important parts of the input and then combines that information into a single vector. Now, what happens in the cross-lingual attention is cross-lingual attention helps the decoder to generate the text in target language, right? How it helps? It focuses on the representation of the input and the output of the attention layer. That means the important parts of the source sentence, and then generates the translation. Because if you look at the nature of the translation problem, you have to capture everything that was there in the source sentence. So this is something that this architecture does, and transformer architecture is current state of the art. Then to further improve the performance of machine translation systems, we employ some advanced techniques. So first is something that is pivoting. So what we do here, let's say I want to develop English Marathi translation system. For that, I need English Marathi parallel data. So English sentence and its corresponding Marathi translated sentence. What if I don't have huge amount of such data? Okay, then I cannot build a good empty system by using this architecture. Then what I can do is I can resort to pivoting. Let's say I have a good English Hindi translation system or good English, huge amount of English Hindi parallel data, and I also have Hindi to Marathi parallel data. Or let's just assume that I don't have English to Marathi parallel data, but we know that Hindi and Marathi are like very close languages, right? So what I can do, I can train a English to Hindi model, a machine translation model, and adapt it for Marathi using the Hindi to Marathi data. So this is something that is called as pivoting. Then we have something that is multilingual MT, where we use information from multiple languages and translate them from one language to other. Here we expect that the model learns the relationships between different languages and use that knowledge to translate any sentence better. Then there are other bunch of advanced techniques. So subwording means instead of translating each word, we divide each word in something called as subwords and translate them. So this translation can be performed at character level, sentence level, or document level. So these are some research directions here. Also, as I said, if you don't have much data to train your neural network models, then you have to go for some different techniques, and for which the low resource MT is a different area. Then there are some things like how would you rate the translation, whether the translation produced by system is good or not. Then there is something called as adaptation. So if you have trained your machine translation system using, let's say, data from newspapers, okay, and then a lawyer comes to you with the documents from some case and ask you to translate that using your machine translation system, the system would fail there, because the system has not seen the documents, data of the law documents, right? So we use some techniques to adapt this system to perform better on documents, and this is what we have been doing. By using these adaptation techniques, we have even crossed the accuracy of the or performance of the Google Translate system for English Marathi language pair. Then there is something pre and post processing, where you have to pre-process or post-process the text that goes in or comes out of the machine translation system. We work in that area as well. And there is something that is sustainability. See, training these NMT models is quite expensive affairs in terms of time and in terms of computation. Okay, so let's say I train one model by devoting 4 days. Now I deploy that model in production. Okay, and after, let's say, after 1 year, it may start, its performance may go down. Okay, so what will I do then? How will I uh, what will I do? So one thing is, I will again have to go back, again train a new model. If my model is large, I may even need more time than not just 4 days, but maybe a week or something like that. And then it involves a lot of testing and so on. So it would take a lot of time. So there are techniques that involve modifying your existing model in certain ways to cater to new needs. So this is another area that can be looked into. It is also like a hot topic right now. Uh, okay, I'm taking a lot of time maybe. Then the next task is post editing. So post editing means the machine translation system generates some output. That output may also contain some errors. So what happens in translation industry right now is the source, or let's say, let's take example of English Marathi. So English sentences are first translated using some machine translation system, and then a human goes through each sentence that is translated, identifies whether there is any error, and then corrects that error. Okay. So some cognitive load is involved there. Also, some time is required. So what we are working on is, we are working on automatically correcting the errors which are produced by the machine translation system. This thing is more complex than machine translation, because instead of just the source, it also involves the translation in another language, and you have to just change the translation. You have to make only required tweaks to it, and by ensuring that you don't change the entire meaning of it and so on.